One, two, three, four.
One, two, one, two, one, two, one, 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 two. Online time fame. I'm your host, JD. Thank you for listening. Hip hop, mainstream music is dead. The hip hop, mainstream music industry is dead. But when you talk about the times in which we live today, and the songs that were from the 1970s and 80s, problems of the world today, songs like that, The Message, like there was impact in music that got the attention of mainstream music executives that made them want to sign hip hop artists, because some of the first people that obviously that signed hip hop artists were small labels. I don't know the amount in numbers, the names of all of them, but I do know Zakia Records, who had King's Son, and they had signed Eric B. and Rakim before Eric B. and Rakim were transitioned over to Island Records. So Fourth Broadway it was. It was Fourth Broadway and Island. It was the label, if I'm correct. And that may have been like 1986. Check Out My Melody was the song, if I'm correct. And that's what makes it so great online, that when we looking stuff up, but we just happen to run into some stuff, or you just want to know something, it's so easy to have it right at our fingertips on our mobile devices or on our computer laptops, and we can get information from the past that we may not know because we wasn't there. But we can't look and we can't hear interviews of people who were involved, and those were, street, uptown, city businesses, record labels that may have been doing R&B and different types of music at that time when we talk about Zakia Records. But they took a chance, and then they signed hip hop artists early on. And them artists went on to move and transition, and then major labels started, even it was smaller labels, and then major labels started signing hip-hop artists. So it was different. It was groundbreaking, the things that was happening with hip-hop. Because samples was, the rules defining sampling weren't as rigid. So one could have some fire beats, wasn't, them records were dormant. James Brown beats. Nothing wasn't going on. So when they figured out the formula to make sure they got paid, the so-called golden era of hip-hop from roughly 1988 to roughly 1993, which is called the golden age. It was great records before that and after that. But there's one period of time when the music was consciously growing. It wasn't one type of music. It was a balance of music. Some street records, some party records, but some conscious records and some awareness records, some conscientious records. So what happened was the consciousness led the way, even though that wasn't all we listened to, and that's because never is a time when it's only one thing we listen to. We don't listen to one thing, never have. But, it was the fact that a direction was set. Everybody knew that the mainstream music industry did not like hip-hop artists. They ain't like it. They resented it. They didn't consider hip-hop to be music. People used to say that ain't no real music, and this music industry veterans would say that. They're on tape. Their interviews can be found. A lot of people act like they wasn't talking like that, but they were. They didn't like it. But it didn't stop them from, especially producers and songwriters and artists. It was some jealousy involved. And as soon as the royalty checks were adjusted, they started changing their tune, and they probably said it in the, behind the scenes. But some, stopped saying it altogether, because some, once they learned the intricacies behind hip hop and, the layered complexity of the music, they had a newfound respect for it. But in the beginning, and the old-mindedness, people didn't like it. But today's hip hop music industry is dead, because that's why all these artists have to come to the internet, because they wasn't involved enough in the culture to cultivate a system outside the major labels. These major artists who had touched major labels and had experience that they could have not only shared but applied and used. They didn't say, this is what you do. Just make sure you package your 12-inch vinyl. Major artists could have did this. You got your vinyl. Make sure it was fire, because a lot of artists put out a new record, and they was putting out records 20 years ago, and them records ain't hot because they ain't really in touch and in tune with the streets. They just trying to get a check. And, so they could, of course they can go do some podcasting, because the records ain't impactful no more. It ain't. It's not relatable. So they might as well be, doing something different, which is trying to study and learn and better themselves. But them songs, it's not impactful. It's not changing the needle. You see, put it like this, because this is what we can pull up now with the benefit of digital technology and some of these music platforms. We can go look at videos from the past and re-educate ourselves. So when you go look at a song like Follow the Leader, Eric B. and Rakim, from back in like 1990, 89, 90, it changes everything. When you 88, excuse me, that might be 88, 89 or something, like back in them days. No, listen to the lyrics. I Know You Got Soul, the James Brown sample of Eric B. and Rakim. So when you look at what they were saying and what they was doing, when Rakim was talking about, if you from uptown, Brooklyn bound, the Bronx, Queens, Long Island sound, like that, pardon if I twisted the words around. When he said that changed the whole structure of the 5 boroughs in Long Island, because before that time, Long Island didn't get respect. And Rakim grew up in Wyandanch, Long Island. Anybody who don't know Long Island, they don't even know his brothers out there. When you say Long Island, they have no clue. And a lot of 5 borough people are very unaware of geography. They don't know where nothing is except a borough. Dude's been in Brooklyn all his life sometime, ain't never been uptown but twice. People from uptown ain't never been downtown, or they ain't, they ain't been to Brooklyn. Like, that's unless people have relatives and family members somewhere. They didn't go and travel like that at one time. Sometimes it was too dangerous back in the 60s and 70s. Sometimes it just was not necessary. And so the point is, people didn't know. So when they heard Rakim saying it ain't where you from, he said every other place comes right and exact. It ain't where you from, it's where you at. That changed the geography of hip hop, because before that, people in the Bronx definitely wasn't respecting nobody from somewhere else, especially Long Island. They had respect for the other boroughs, but they just wasn't, not that they was disrespecting, they just wasn't acknowledging it. Like, so when Rakim said that line, and he dropped a few different records, and he was talking about knowledge of self, it changed the landscape of the city, of the nation. Because the outsiders didn't really know what was going on, but they still heard those locations being spoken about. So when he said it ain't where you from, it's where you at, meaning it's where you at mentally. That helped other places embrace hip-hop to say, well, we ain't from New York, but he said it ain't where you from, it's where you at. But we didn't know what his significance was to make that statement, because people could have been saying it ain't about nothing with you. But the quality of the songs, the consciousness, the imagery was so positive that everybody had to say, nah, that young brother right there is on point. So that's what hip-hop used to do. It used to change perception. But now these dudes, you see them, they just put out some stuff. They standing around in front of some cars. I mean, the prices are so economical, they can make something great for a low price of a music video. They got open studio time. Them dudes probably got studios in their house, and that's the best they can make. And they got unlimited time and resources and people who are willing to make sure they got serious product, and they ain't got nothing to say. Because all they trying to do is keep paying their bills, take care of their grandchildren and they damn grandchildren these days. But some impactful, fly, stylish, avant-garde, abstract, critical thinking, multi-layered lyrics. Nah, man. They can't do that no more. They use they load. They ain't got nothing left. Because there's people out here living real lives in the street, surviving off the times that's being propagated today, off the politics and policies and legislation that's being passed. Them dudes is middle class, but they rhyming like, oh, I'm in the hood all the time. Yeah, but you're not a part of the economic environment, which is no problem. But you're not even in tune enough to speak on it, and you definitely not going to risk your position and take a verbal risk in the media, because the wealthy people that you be around to be making sure that you get some few dollars here and there, they're going to question you about your politics. Hey man, what's up with that lyric you said? In this era, Caucasians know the lyrics. There was a time Caucasians didn't even know what you were saying because they wasn't listening. Oh, that's that rap music. They wasn't listening. That's little kid music. But then the record sales started adding up. And people started making phone calls saying, oh man, wait a minute, that hip hop, they were laughing. And when they saw the totals on the sale that this record had sold millions, they said, oh, wait a minute, we got to rethink this. And the whole music industry shifted from the sales, not because they liked the people. You got to think about it. Will Smith was one of the biggest artists in hip hop. Will Smith. That's how he became Will Smith. When he was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he had a song in 86. Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble, and it had a TV show theme sample from a TV show from the 50s called I Dream of Jeannie. That was before his other song, Parents Just Don't Understand. Just Don't Understand was like 1989, 88, 89, 88. That got him a Grammy, if I'm correct. And that song is the song that made him get his own TV show. The TV show came after the song, if I'm correct. Parents Just Don't Understand. And they modeled a whole TV show because it was the late great Quincy Jones, who nobody embraced hip hop on the mainstream level. They was like, oh no, that's that old whack music. They wasn't checking for it. I mean, accomplished musicians, some of them was jealous because, like I said, groups like Big Daddy Kane, Eric B. and Rakim, Public Enemy, Run DMC, the Fat Boys, Houdini, they were selling gold records, 500,000 sales with little airplay. Wasn't no daytime hip hop being played in 1989, unless it was a commercial record, very commercial. It might get daytime airplay and be in the rotation, but most hip hop was on a nighttime mixtape type show. And then probably was on at 2 in the morning in the beginning. 12 midnight, that's the time hip hop used to come on in the 80s until the 90s. Nationwide, not just New York, everywhere. They didn't play no hip hop. There wasn't no such thing as a hip hop station. There was 24-hour rap music. That was not even in existence. That's recent. So the point is, as hip hop grew and got stronger, it was acknowledged because people had to acknowledge it. So that's why we say today the people who are in hip hop, they just in it for a check. They don't have anything of substance to contribute. They don't have any mental input, no intellectual input to give, to provide, to pave the way for the upcoming children. They don't have the mental capacity. They real good at writing rhymes, and that's it. Even, a lot of athletes, we expect too much from these people. They just regular people who happen to be good at one thing. And we want them to be good at everything. And it's not necessarily the case. Especially you can look at hip hop. These people ain't got nothing they can say. They 2 phone calls away from any president. They can get to them. and say, hey, I want to have a meeting with you. I got some things I want you to do. That's the furthest thing away from these dudes. They don't care anyway. That's not what it is. This ain't the 1960s. When people want to say something for the people, they don't care. Long as they can get inside the Gucci store and Louis Vuitton and drink champagne and some luxury party with these wealthy people, that's what hip hop. That's what they do. They just come around on the so-called regular people when something's wrong. Then we see their face. They give some nonprofit money, but they ain't speaking up because they don't know nothing. This dude dropped out of 9th grade and never read 40 books in his life. And you want him to be some high-scale dude? Nah, man. He's who he always was. But the point is this. For indie artists saying these people ain't pushing independent artists. The people who used to have major record label deals. And now they came in with an experiment called streaming. The people got down with they just sat back and watched as the sales revenue from their records almost disappeared. And so it wasn't that streaming. At first it was downloads. So you could kind of count downloads like record sales, even though Apple arbitrarily made all records cost the same amount, 99 cents for a single, and like 10 songs for like $9.99 or something like that. So that did even make the money less. You know, when they took, so what the artist should have been thinking, let me make sure these vinyl and these CDs stay in the store, or let me cultivate my own fan base to keep selling records. But they couldn't do that because they had a contractual obligation. They were still signed to the major labels. The major label kept them signed so they couldn't get too far off the leash. They kept them on the leash so they couldn't go out and teach and speak. So now they want to pop up all of a sudden and be on a podcast, but you wasn't even brave enough to speak for their own careers. And they just said, man, these streams is like ain't nothing. It was an experimental like business move. It benefited the streaming companies. It benefited the record labels because whatever they had going on. And the artist is just the lesser of them all unless he was independent. Nobody forced them to stay on them labels. They could have said, I'm going to do my own thing if I could sell my own fan base, $10 a CD. If I can move 100,000. They wasn't thinking like that because you still got to have some fire-ass music to do it. You still got to have some real something to say. And they didn't. Because what they saying, you can't, it's after they talk about getting high and drinking and driving around and sleeping with women, there's nothing else to talk about. You're just saying the same thing. Rehashing and recycling. So the point is this. This was a clip that we found, just pardon that too. As I said, I want to have a full, written notes. I'd rather have full written, double, triple, quadruple check notes that I ain't taking it from somewhere basic. Because people read these websites that have information and that is not a primary source. They be secondary sources most of the time. And even if it's Wikipedia or somewhere, people read it as though it's 100%. And I see a bunch of mistakes in places that may have even came from a book. These people wasn't there. Sometimes they got a story that's the accepted story, but that might not even be the full truth. But anyway, the story said that when you talk about touring, when you talk about groups and the fan base, it popped in my head to think about the group called the Rock and Roll Group from 1965. They were called the Grateful Dead. And the writing said, despite having only one top 40 single called Touch of Grey in 1987, during their 30-year career, the Grateful Dead remained among the highest grossing American touring acts for decades. They gained a committed fan base by word of mouth and through the free exchange of their live recordings, encouraged by the band's allowance of taping. So they allow people to tape their music. Now, even a record label that came on tour with you, or if a label rep came on tour, hey, you guys mind if I ride with you? Because back then, the tour money belonged to the artists, and most of the money for the records was coming from going to the label. Because at least you got on tour, that's where you made your cash. So for them to say, all right, you paid to get into the show, you can tape. And so that was a free exchange that built a certain bond between the fans and the audience. And when you see the Grateful Dead, like now they have offshoots of the Grateful Dead, because it's like 4 remaining members, if I'm correct, 3 or 4 members still alive. So one of them members can still have another offshoot group, which they do have, and they tour. And when they come to a city, it's announced on all major media outlets. They all mention it like it's a tribute to this group, and it's rock and roll. And it's like, oh, the Grateful Dead. And then all of a sudden you see people showing up, just renting hotels, and they pulling up in those those SUVs and those RVs, recreational vehicles. And they just like coming in those, they arrive in those, what was it called? The VW, Volkswagen vans. It's like a little, like they can like a camper, like a camping vehicle, or some type of vehicle that they modify where they can crash out like going camping. And then the cities that they go to will designate an area. They'll close off like a big lot or a field and let them sleep out there and camp. They'll put bathrooms for them. This ain't even near the stadium. They'll just pick an area for them. Hey, that's where y'all be. They secure that area, and that stadium's gonna be full. It can be your largest baseball stadium. It's going to be packed. And they ain't even got no new records out. But because of the camaraderie they built with their audience, they still can put out the record. And they had kept putting out records, but they ain't worried about the charts because they make the music for the fans. They're now making the music specifically for what the label is talking about. Because as I mentioned, what I just read before, I said, despite having only one top 40 single ever called Touch of Grey in 1987, in their 30-year career, the Grateful Dead remained among the highest grossing American touring acts for decades. So when you see these dudes rhyme and they trying to come do a podcast, they ain't this. Sade is that in the R&B world. The R&B singer Sade from London, England. When she drops her album, she can immediately tour, sold out. And that's what she does. She don't really come outside. But when she drops an album, she comes out and she goes on tour in support of that album. And it's probably going to go at least gold, if not platinum, guaranteed. And it's probably and it's still going to be a very good album. The quality is going to be there. It's going to have a commercial hit on there. Like, she's a master of what she does. She ain't no fall off level or she wouldn't, and she's going to come with a quality product. And then she still got her catalog. But these dudes rhyming, some of them didn't keep up to date. Just different politics that makes them a victim in certain ways. But some are being planted to manipulate and to manipulate audiences. And what we're saying is, at Online Time Fame, right here, I'm JD, your host. I'm saying I ain't even wanting to be public. Forget the public. These dudes made the public look like a farce because they didn't cultivate the audience. They didn't have no type of point program for the audience to know. Don't be disrespectful. We deal in logic. These dudes think going back and forth is the best way to create an audience. The theater and drama. Same repeat of what we saw happen to Notorious B.I.G. between Tupac. Just creating these beefs to sell and get promotion that end up making everybody lose at the end. You know, that's what these people are still like controversially say something crazy, and that's what it is. And some of that can be used. Some of them ignorant jokes, because as I said, my favorite joke is when these artists are asked if they can do something. You think you can do a podcast? Yeah, I can do a podcast. You did a podcast before? That's my favorite joke. No, I ain't never did it before, but I mean, I'm sure I can catch on. They ain't read no books. They ain't educated themselves. This is just the blind leading the blind. A straight ignorant dude jumping out trying to talk about something. These dudes, man.
This was the leaders. This included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns, and have been made celebrities, and usually say exactly what they know that the man wants to hear.
When you go back to the University of California, Berkeley, 1963, October, that was Malcolm X in an interview with, it was two people there. I don't remember their name. One graduate student was Blake, and the other individual, I can't recall, but I took the note. But I know it's UC Berkeley, Malcolm X, 1963, October, to be specific. And it was the 11th. It was either the 11th or the 13th of October.
Over the black community.
So.
By the white community.
See? Over the black community. So the point is, back then Malcolm was raw. He was 100% with it, saying what it was, and wasn't holding back and wasn't pulling no punches. And we wouldn't want to be in that way at people. But what I'm saying is, coming from that type of venom and fire and facts to just go along and just tap dance and sing and don't want to offend this one individual because he got more economics than everybody else, and he gladly bullies people with his power and connections. That's what we saw today. So then these extensions of these people are who we see in these podcasts. And that's not even about us. They got a bigger problem. The bigger problem is the economic downturn, the economic struggle that all the people are suffering in these major cities in this country. The economics, the jobs, the benefits, the cost of living, the inflation, everybody's feeling it. So these dudes don't even got no solution. How can I make, some moves where everybody benefits? They don't have that. They don't have the capacity. So you just rap. There ain't nobody who is thorough to be able to generate and elevate the nation. They ain't got that. See, but they block everybody else. No, don't talk to them. Just talk to me. And you ain't producing. So this is their greatest loss right now. These former celebrities, these individuals who used to supposedly be thorough, but now the truth is upon us. They ain't got it. They ain't got the economics, of what people think they should have.
Man, every market-based business runs in cycles, and we're going through a down cycle.
Listen. It ain't just a down cycle, though. What this is a destruction of what it once was, because the people didn't cultivate, and they did not that they didn't bring new people. They didn't even educate themselves. Dictators, they stay in office usually for the extension of their whole lives. So, all right, if you're a great leader, stay in power forever. These dudes wasn't never great. They may have been good at something, and they was all right, and they may have had moments of greatness, but then of how much time you talking? How much time? And then, as I said, does that greatness need to translate into another skill set that adapts to the needs of the people? They ain't got that. They just entertainers. These people ain't public figures that lead. They don't have to. They know one thing, and they know what they know, and that's all they know.
See, they told us that you're a troublemaker.
Anybody who speaks different gets told, well, he's over there making problems, causing trouble. No, it's the truth gets spoken. It's not always accepted. And that's all we did now is took people who were mediocre and put them in leadership positions. And anyone who's knowledgeable, they're not blinded by the fame of these people because they've been put in position with their fame. That's what made the speech so significant from Malcolm X at UC Berkeley, because he used to always, people forgot, Malcolm X used to call stuff out and say, this dude is a clown, this dude did this, and he didn't keep it 100 doing that. And everybody knows he did that. And even though that he was assassinated, they still respected. Damn, he used to make us stay on point. He didn't let us go with all of the funny stuff. With these dudes, they let all the funny stuff in the world go for a low price. No one's saying somebody gotta fight the world, but they can't even figure out a way to make us all benefit economically. They got some hustle they got going where they'll be getting the majority of the cash, and they'll say, well, we'll give a few dollars here and there. But what are you doing, though? See, that's the same mentality of a crack dealer. You selling crack, sell it. They sold it. So nobody's disrespecting and putting them down. Just the whole thing, all we can do is don't get high. Keep our people off their drug. Hey, man, don't mess with that. I would hope you don't get high. Leave them alone and let them do their thing. It's all good. But my point is, don't jump out like you some hero to be respected. Not in the public world. In the street world, ain't no opinion. Do what you doing. People, if it wasn't no demand, it wouldn't be a need for a supply. So that ain't the point. But these people in the legitimate world claiming they come as being superstars in the street world, their ethics ain't even the same as a real street dude. It ain't. They were plants and propped up to be something they never were. Claiming to be superstars, they was always with somebody that was doing more than they was doing. They wasn't no superstars or no street, or they wouldn't have never made it that far. And even if they was doing above average, they took that deal and they agreed to be something that had to be for sale. They sold their souls, meaning their business soul. Look at what they selling. People went from selling crack to selling gambling. Think about it. Gambling, man, that's like selling pork chop to a Muslim. That's what it is. Nobody ain't gambling. Come on, man. That's for suckers. Any real gambler knows gambling is for suckers, unless you the one winning. If you the one with the winnings, but you taking advantage of the weak. Nah, man. Let us see you build something else. That's if you gambling and that's all you got enough economics to do, no issue with you. That's what you are. But these other people so greedy, and they don't have nothing, no point program to make the whole community grow. And when I say community, it's all people. Not just so-called black people. They ain't got it. They don't have the skill set, but they want to still have the position. They want to still get the accolades and respect of someone who's to be respected. And their time has passed. They just got enough power where the people say, well, we're going to keep you in position because you know what they want, right? You know what we can get away with, right? They'll let us go for that. They'll go for that, right? And you selling it. These people. And we don't say their names because, as we said, it's 3 factors that determine how we move. Small-mindedness, which is dealing with people. Small level conversations. That would be social commentary as a form of people, but it also deals with events, but it's legitimate. It's the hateful speech that goes back and forth to demean people. We're talking about the perception of the person institutionally. We ain't talking about them as a private individual. We're talking about their role in society. They taking a weak position to say, well, I'm going to just show up every time I got something to sell. And I did do my donations that I can make tax deductible. But you ain't making no societal change. They not going to allow you to do that. So you just a puppet. Just step back. But my point is, this is a time where the truth has to be spoken on. This is a time, because it's difficult times. Well, people are going to eventually have to say something, or else everything's going to get bad. It's about bad as it can be now, and only getting worse incrementally. Each day is getting worse. The prices go up. You go in the grocery store. And you see a price. Sometimes you write a price down and you make a note of it, so when you go to a similar store, you can see how much they charge for that same item. So you can decide, well, I'm going to go to all of the cheapest stores in my area. When I go past this store, I get this. When I go past that store, I get these, because I've kept track of how much something costs at each place. That's somebody who got to watch their budget. Them people who getting money, they don't got to watch that. They forgot the intricacies of survival. They can go to any store, and I'm not saying they're not frugal, but they don't have to be. They have the choice to be. So this is who they are. They not looking for the betterment of all people. They have a selfish intent in all of their actions. So we up in here cheering, oh, he a billionaire. And what did he do for his community to make more billions and make them thrive at the same time? That's outside his capabilities. He can't do that. See, in the old days, when people went to the Caucasians who had the resources and they was a gangster, they said, don't worry, I'm going to take care of my people. I'm going to keep them happy. But I'm going to also be doing this. So, everybody, I'm going to be moving this way. And everybody was happy. These dudes is one-sided. The streets are starving. They pick a few token former criminal drug dealers or somebody who ain't got no money, so they can act like they on their level and befriend them. They wouldn't have messed with you when they was getting money, because you wasn't that level. You was beneath what they was doing, and you wasn't ruthless enough to be around them like that, because you wasn't an insider in the streets. Your family wasn't connected like that, and you didn't know nobody like that, because back in them days, you couldn't just be around people. That's why the first time these dudes got a chance, they always saying somebody's name, trying to be around them, but you're not one of them. And only those who know can say that, who know. But these dudes are so busy explaining who they are and oh, I seen this. No, real people don't like that. The real dudes don't like nobody to be saying who they are. They don't have enough to say to go and say something different. So that's why we see these people failing now. They can't put no music out because they can't tell the truth no more, because they part of the machine now. Hip-hop wasn't part of the machine. Hip-hop built its own machine, and the mainstream media, the mainstream music industry absorbed that machine. So they didn't really take hip-hop. They just commercialized it and called it hip-hop. That wasn't the real hip-hop. That was a commercialized version of hip-hop, the sanitized version of those who could be controlled. So they killed it. So now them dudes ran through the cracks in the fence, and they ran in and I'm going to do some podcasting. No, they just talking some stuff from 25 years ago. So-called black folk love they old celebrities. They one of the only groups who they love a bunch of old people, old celebrities with no new music. See, we ain't talking Stevie Wonder, because I know for a fact if Stevie Wonder went and made another record, he probably can make another hit. Some artists from back then can't make no hit. But if they was told, that ain't good, they probably could sit down and redo it again. Nah, that last one you made, go back to your days and this, when you made this and that. Some of them could get right, but with the proliferation, with the multiplication of yes men, nobody don't usually tell these dudes the truth, or they be some divas, they don't want to hear the truth, and they get lost in the delusion. But as far as making it happen on the street level, most of these people can't do it. They don't relate to the street. They don't have no interest in rebuilding. I say community, meaning all neighborhoods. The whole economy, the whole country is jacked up. This is a sad part. This is so sad. When you see a product, there's a company that there was a company, they made like these home scissors, famous name brand scissors. You keep repairing your house. I need some scissors, and this is one of the better scissors if you go to a place a good store. And You look on the back of the package and it says assembled in, like wherever the company was, but made in China. So you telling me that your company is so bad that you can't get the raw materials yourself and ship it to the States and put it in manufacture, cut the handles and out of your own resources from the metal and steel that you got to get all of that done in China? Get them to ship you the pieces here, and then you put it together. It'll say assembled. And it gets worse. There's companies that is assembled and made in this other company, and then they send it to you. And you put your name on it, and it's really their company. It says made in China. And I'm like, well, damn, but your company is in Iowa. So all they did was shipped it to you. You put it in a package you put your packaging. They might have made your packaging too. And then you just shipping it out. That's a shell of a manufacturer. It's sad. A shell of a manufacturer. Not even the same company no more. Just a sad shell. And that's what our production as far as our exports are just terrible. So tariffs are being raised, and then who pays those tariffs? The consumer in this country is paying, because those prices of those companies that have to pay tariffs to get their products in the U.S., they just pass the price on, raise the rise in prices to the people here. Everything is being cut, no matter which individual is in office. These people running around saying, well, since this dude is in office, it was like that for the last 3 dudes. It was going bad. For the last, when the economy went good, you don't bother it. You don't change the administration when things are going good. You leave the people who are there. And everybody said, nah, we just got to get them out of office just because of who it is. Nah, don't mess with that right now. Leave them be. And then as soon as they got out of office, everything goes left. But overall, it's been left for decades. Price has been going up steadily since the 1970s. So no solution has been found of how to make wages stabilize inflation. How do we do it? Now, what rapper is going to sit up and have a solution to something like that? What rapper is going to know of some manufacturing? They're not even thinking like that. They're not even thinking of nothing we can do to make our neighborhood a better place where the prices are more affordable. That's not their concern. They just blood sucking off whatever they can based on the fame they had 20 years ago. Dude, you ain't even motivational. Because if they got a motivational record that inspires, we may not have nothing. But the song is motivational. When you listen to the Stevie Wonder record, and these are old songs, you looking at movies, this was in a movie, but this is because of what Spotify and all of these digital platforms are today. We hear these old records just like we hear new records. They're in rotation, they're editors' picks, and they select them to be featured picks and stuff. So the Stevie Wonder was so monumental when people was talking about, when you talk to your grandparents, they knew what the songs meant, when we didn't know what it meant, and then you had them older relatives who say, man, you don't know nothing about it if you don't know this, and then they explain it. That was from 1973. No, as I said, I'm not sure if Stevie Wonder could make a song. I'm confident he could make a hit, if he made one, right now. But some artists I did hear some masterful artists that wasn't that good. But I don't know who was around them telling them, nah. You can just make what you want to make. But I'm like, are you charting? Are you making something that people want to hear? Or are you just doing what you want to do? Or does it matter? Because for some of them, they so wealthy, it don't matter. But when you look at Living for the City, Stevie Wonder, 1973, Motown Records. Stevie Wonder was one of the first artists to get complete creative control over his music. But the lyricism was so hard body, hard punching, hard hitting. It's a timeless record. When he says a boy is born in Hard Time, Mississippi, surrounded by four walls that ain't so pretty. His parents gave him love and affection to keep him strong, moving in the right direction, living just enough for the city. So that's the poverty that people living in right now. So you got some dude gonna jump on a podcast that raps and like, dude, you ain't even making records with this type of content. You scared. Because the record label's going to say something. Because today's record label executives, especially the high-ups, the high-up executives, they grew up knowing music. They used to just sit back and let you make your song, and they would look at it. All right, is that it? Is that what they like? And they didn't bother you. Now they giving input because they grew up listening to rap. This Caucasian knows songs. He know references, and he might tell you, well, nah, that ain't hot. Even though that's questionable that you can tell me about my culture. But I'm saying they wouldn't even talk and try. They would just leave you alone. Oh, he's selling? Oh, they're saying that's good? Is that? And someone they would get that they could trust would say, no, that's real. He's good. And they may explain it. But nowadays, the Caucasians is like, nah, that's weak. But when the song goes on to say, his father works some days for 14 hours, and you can bet he barely makes $1. His mother goes to scrub the floors for many, and you'd best believe she hardly gets a penny, living just enough for the city. So see, that was raw, picture perfect, visual lyricism. You see in the picture of what he's saying when he's making a song, living just enough for the city. Now, my point is, when you listen to the rhymes are storytelling. They have storytellers. But in times of economic struggle, to hear somebody say something of substance in this way is a timeless record, because rap started being this same level of storytelling and lyricism and picture painting, picturesque visualizations of lyrical explanations, even, so to speak. So then the killer verse on the living for the city, just enough for the city, Stevie Wonder from 1973. It was no joke when he went on to say his sister's black, but she sure is. His sister's black, but she is sure enough pretty. Her skirt is short, but Lord, her legs are sturdy. To walk to school, she's got to get up early. Her clothes are old, but never are they dirty. Living just enough for the city. So that speaks loudly to the materialism that we uphold. Just because something costs a certain amount, it's supposed to be better and necessary. A $5,000 jacket, an outfit because it's named after this European designer or that. Not to say it's not nice, but that ain't really the reality of what's necessary, and that definitely wasn't the reality of what people were going through. So the way that Stevie Wonder was so significant is the way he said his sister's black, but she is sure enough pretty, meaning that was even in the 70s trying to imply that just because somebody was dark or black itself, they wasn't as pretty as the standard at that time that people still propagate. It wasn't back then, because people still propagate other things being better than themselves because they hate themselves because they don't have self-knowledge. He said her skirt is short, but Lord, her legs are sturdy. Like, you can see the strength in it. To walk to school, she's got to get up early. So that's what we was talking about when we was mentioning the physical fitness and people taking care of themselves. Back in the past, people had to be strong because a lot of what they did was manual labor, walking, moving around. Now everybody is overweight and obese because there's a lot of driving and buses and modern conveniences and low-priced junk food, high-calorie carbohydrate snacks. So when Stevie Wonder said her clothes are old, but never are they dirty, it just reflected on the pride and the self-pride that just because somebody don't have economics don't make them less than others. And so just the impact of the song, you ain't gonna get nothing close to what these dudes are. Now I ain't talking about it wasn't some real songs in the 80s, it was. But my point is the hip hop of the 80s, some of those artists grew up knowing these songs that I'm talking about right now. So there was a connection that you had to put into your lyrics that had to have some reality to it, because these songs were being used for the samples. So as these people grew up listening and they see these lyrics, it's timeless lyrics. It's timeless. See? So when you get to this level of lyricism, there wasn't that much close. Now, the last verse of that song was, her brother's smart. He's got more sense than many. His patience long, but soon he won't have any. To find a job is like a haystack needle, 'cause where he lives, they don't use colored people. Now that was it, man. That was 'cause living just enough for the city. That was just extremely hardcore, and you talking poetic. So, just painting a picture of Mississippi in the past, but for some parts of Mississippi, it can be last week, even today. And I'm not saying everything is bad, people are bad. What we're saying is conditions can exist in this country out of tradition of just sometimes that struggle creates greatness. So we ain't just 100% just complaining about it, but people have risen above their conditions to do better, to do great. But the explanation and the narrative of the song changed people's minds, brought people closer together to have understanding because of the way he articulated. These are global songs, globally timeless, around the world, recognized throughout Europe. All over the world, these are like landmark songs. Here they might be saying, why this dude reading some lyrics to this song? Because people study these songs around the world and they know this is what makes the U.S. great. This is U.S. culture. These are the platforms of even hip-hop, because the samples and the children of those who made hip-hop come from artists like this, Stevie Wonder, and lyrics like this, because that wasn't no rap, but that was a rap. It was a rap, it just didn't rhyme like a rhyme of so-called hip-hop. And it's a song, obviously. Her brother's smart. He's got more sense than many. His patience is long, but soon he won't have any. To find a job is like a haystack needle, 'cause where he lives, they don't use colored people. Living just enough for the city. It doesn't get no more raw than that. When you talking 1970s through now, it's just you still go in a place to get a job, and it's different, but there's nuances of the song, and to bring the song home. It says he's coming from Mississippi to New York City, and there's a voice on the record that says, "Bus for New York City," and the man says, "Hey, bus driver, I'm getting on there. Hold it. Thanks a lot." And then when they hear, you can hear him driving, and he says, "Wow, New York, just like I pictured it, skyscrapers, everything." And someone runs up and says, "Hey, brother, come here, Slick." And he's like, huh, what? Hey, you look hip, man. Hey, you want to make yourself $5? Yeah. You look hip. Run this across the street for me right quick. Oh, okay. Run this across the street for me. What, huh? And then he gets stopped by law enforcement. I didn't know. What? Give me your hand, punk. That's the law enforcement agent. I'm just going across the street. Put your leg up. Shut your mouth. Hell no. What did I do? Okay, turn around. They arrested him. Put your hands behind your back. Let's go. A jury of your peers have found you guilty. 10 years. That's another narration in the song. What? This ain't even a music video. They just explaining it. Come on, come on. Get in the cell, ninja. They use the N-word. Good Lord. And that's what he says after he is served. His hair is long. His feet are hard and gritty. He spends his life walking the streets of New York City. He's almost dead from breathing in air pollution. He tried to vote, but to him there's no solution. Living just enough for the city. I hope you hear inside my voice of sorrow, and that it motivates you to make a better tomorrow. This place is cruel. Nowhere could be much colder. If we don't change, the world will soon be over. Living just enough. Stop giving just enough for the city. So that's Stevie Wonder putting his stamp down. This is the music industry. This is when you would have a record like this. It's just complete respect. So when you see these so-called rapper podcasters, they don't have no message. That was a solution. Just like when I showed the activation, the community activist nature of Tupac Shakur's Keep Your Head Up, telling sisters to strive to do better, telling the men, real men, get up. This is similar right here on the outro of this song for Stevie Wonder to say, I hope you hear inside my voice of sorrow, and that it motivates you to make a better tomorrow. This place is cruel. Nowhere could be much colder. If we don't change, the world will soon be over. So look at our world today. And that was 1973. Look, and who do you have saying anything in prominent positions? Yeah, you got these nobodies. Nobody listening to what street level people saying at the magnitude of us saying it. We get to say anything. But these so-called public figures with a voice, with a profile, with access to A plus, A1 level so-called stars and celebrities, they ain't gonna say nothing real like this. They ain't gonna have no critique of society and the economic status quo. They don't know enough to do it anyway, but they know more than we think they know. They just know to shut up and collect a check, get their money and be quiet because they think it for selfish motivational reasons. Stevie Wonder was a star when he made this record. So this could have had a problem. That could have been a problem for his career, but he was standing on what he said. He saying this could affect his voice, but did he lie? There was something that brought people together to even say, if we don't change, the world will soon be over. Now, the world is over for what, if you look at the prices of what stuff costs in 1973 and what the dollar was worth in 1973 and what you could get for $1 from the grocery store in 1973 compared to what a dollar is, the value of $1 today is over. New York held on the longest before, as we see these so-called New York City celebrities and public figures, they just apathetic and they don't say nothing of substance no more. That's why we just read that lyric. This ain't even a show we would have did, because it's not a show that would really be recognized. To do a critique of my broken reading of Stevie Wonder, I'm JD, your host. This is the Online Time Fame Podcast. Small minds talk about people, average minds talk about events, and great minds talk about ideas. And then those ideas should include solutions.